There was a post here on the WoW Reddit about Karasan, and I actually wanted to talk a little bit about SoD stuff. A little rough around the edges, but they knocked it out of the park with Kisan Crips. My friends and I sat in Discord all evening blindly doing the attunement and made our way to the crypts. Lots of deaths, really interesting bosses, and definitely some jank and work to be done still, but an awesome drunk night dungeon crawling. I really think they captured the soul of experiencing a classic dungeon for the first time, and I would consider Kisan Crips a big win for SoD. This was the most fun I've probably ever had with friends learning a new piece of content in WoW from start to finish. The creep factor, the challenging bosses, and the constant sense of danger really did it justice. Do yourself a favor and experience it completely blind. Bring tons of supplies and explore. PS, set aside an evening for this. This is not a speedrun dungeon for reals. The attunement alone took hours. Some people said this is all content SoD should look like. It's insane the amount of effort they put into this. And a few other things. I wanna just like, hold on. I wanna talk a little bit about this. I'm gonna just show my character, I guess, while we do that here. So Season of Discovery. This was a good ass time. I played, as you guys know, I played SoD for quite a while actually, especially in the beginning of Season of Discovery. I had a fantastic time. Phase 1, Phase 2 was absolutely ridiculously fun. I stopped playing right before Blackburn Lair came out, and it's I don't know, it just lost a little bit of the excitement, I guess, and the hype for me personally. I will say though, Karasan was outstanding. I agree with the post. It's freaking ridiculously great dungeon design. Reminds me a lot of like Diablo 1 with the horror-esque style and all that stuff, you know, really freaking sick. It felt like exploring like a new dungeon for the first time, like you were like back in the day, I suppose, right? It was super awesome. A fantastic atmosphere. The music was great. Running around, I remember when we did the Karasan, like running around finding all those relics. It was kind of tedious, I guess, but it felt like you were exploring something new, which was fun. The last boss was kind of bugged, but I guess that's to be expected of it. What about the new Rav video? In a sec, man. I just want to talk about this first a bit here. I feel like what Karasan did really well was that it delivered what Demonfall Canyon failed to do. Because if you guys remember back in Phase 3, Demonfall Canyon was a dungeon that was released together with Incursions, and Demonfall Canyon felt like they just took a zone and then placed a bunch of mobs in the zone, and that was pretty much it. There was the whole thing with Gorehowl and all that stuff, but in a way it felt a little bit like, I would say, fan service. Like, oh my god, Gorehowl, guys, this is where, you know, this is where the big pit lord fell, all that stuff, Manaroth, right? But I think it was great the way that they did Karasan. In a way, I really wish that they would have done more stuff like Karasan from the beginning of SoD, because Karasan really was great. Also, Incursions. Oh god, that thing was bad. It was horrible. I think if I wouldn't have played as much OnlyFans lately, I think Season of Discovery might have been more what I played a lot of, honestly. It might have been something that I delved a lot more into. Currently, I still am playing a lot of hardcore, and that has been my main source of WoW, I guess, for the past few months. And I don't know how long that'll last, but SoD is definitely something I could see myself playing a bit more if it wasn't for that. I will say, Psych, what's up, dude? I will say Karasan does have me excited to see what they could do more in terms of original content. You guys know there is the Scarlet Enclave raid that they're planning to do for the next phase. That's something I think could be really fun as well. And maybe at that point I'll be more inclined to play it a bit more. I just wish it was more about that stuff. I think for me personally, the focus with SoD has been way too much on like all these custom runes and spells and like essentially Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm abilities. And it should have been more about the content like the knack stuff we got, or the custom BFD raid and those things. Maybe toning back a little bit more on the runes and having that be a little bit less crazy. Having a few of them is good, but I feel like it became a lot about that. And then focusing more on what, like fleshing out the stuff that's already in the world, right? Like we have the freaking Scarlet Enclave, we got the Kisan Crips, there's the Furball wall in Ashara, there's the Greymane wall as well. There's a lot of shit that could be done, right? Need to farm some gear for next phase of SoD. If I do decide to play more SoD in the future, I definitely would have to like commit more to it. Currently, I am very much focused on WoW, and it is the thing that I'm like doing mostly at the moment. Hardcore WoW, that is. But I guess we'll see, right? Do you think they might open Hygel and SoD? So, I can talk about that in a bit. I think what made SoD great for me was the rune discoveries in the beginning was a freaking blast. That felt like discovering a new MMO for the first time. Those secret agents up on the wall on like Hillspread in like Arathi Highlands and stuff was awesome. Going into BRD, crossing the bridge with a telescope, going downstairs was freaking hype. I thought that was awesome too. The new content like Karasan, Demonfall Canyon, wasn't that great in my opinion. I thought BFD was great. I thought Nomer was... It was okay. Nomer was alright. Sunken Temple, I have a little bit of a special one with because my character actually was in Sunken Temple. So that I thought was interesting. But I think that the content for leveling was great with that. It was pretty great, but I think what they missed the mark on a little bit was perhaps the cadence of content release. Because if you guys remember back in phase 1, everybody really enjoyed it and had fun from what I saw. And then it just turned into this whole raid log thing where like, okay, you had 5 level 25 characters raiding in BFD, sorry. And after that, it was like, okay, well now we have 2 months of this, 3 months of this. And then we got 10 levels to level and now we have 2 months of this as well. It felt like people kind of like got really burned out on it, right? People got very, very burned out. You know, I would say, so it felt like a playtest for Classic Plus. Yeah, I agree. Very much felt like a place where they were testing out all the things, what worked and what didn't, for the most part. I will definitely agree with that. Incursions, I think was the main thing that was the nail in the coffin for people. Because Incursions became the best way to farm gold, the best way to level, and the best way to, like, do anything. It was too good. It was ridiculously, like, just OP. It was so dumb. I think Incursions was the biggest blunder that they did, for sure. PvP in SoD, I think in the beginning was fantastic. It was so weird because it was so broken when we were level 25. Because there was like shamans with like a lava burst, there was the hunters with the scorpion pits and the wind serpents, druids with the freaking one-shot star surges. It was fun for sure. It was great, but it was also incredibly broken. I think the deeper we came into the deeper we came into the phases, eventually to level 60 with all the runes and everything unlocked. From my own perspective, I think SoD PvP became too broken. It's like, dude, I watched Zico running around with 10,000 HP on a shaman, 1v5ing people. And I guess, yeah, that's cool and stuff, but in a way, it really feels like, okay, you're playing on a private server. It's like, it reminds me a little bit of those custom 255 private servers with the Hygel leveling roads, where you would get like just incredibly broken. You would have a permanent divine shield and you could stack your mounts, right? It's just insane. I wasn't a fan of the Psalm style raids personally. I think the I think the Molten Core with Season of Mastery stuff and Blackwing Lair and all those things, it wasn't really big for me personally. Farming all that fire resistance felt quite tedious, and it felt like you were gimping your character, not like you were prepping up for an epic raid. But I did enjoy Molten Core, actually. I thought it was fun. The meatball boss... Honestly, a lot of people memed at the meatball boss. I found it funny. I just thought it was a funny extra little thing that they did. Like that little meatball that came up in Molten Core, and like you would fight that thing when you beat like heat level 3. I like the new ranking system. It does feel weird seeing literally everybody. Like, look at that. There's a High Warlord right there. There's a Legionnaire there. There's a Lieutenant General there. There's everybody's ranked 14. I do think that the old ranking system is kind of bad, honestly. It's just like freaking grinding, right? But I do like the way that they changed it personally. I do think it was almost too crazy. I don't really have much to say about Blackwing Lair AQ, I guess, because I didn't play. In Nax, we will get the Frozen Meatball secret boss. I am enticed to see how Nax turns out, and also Scarlet Enclave. I'm most so excited about Scarlet Enclave. I think my overall experience with SoD was good. I don't know how you guys feel about it, obviously. I think in terms of how small of a team that they were, I think it was great. Phase 1 to 2 were absolutely amazingly fun. I think Phase 1, 2 of SoD was probably some of the most fun I've had in a while playing WoW. That shit was so fun. All I wanted to do was to log in and play SoD. It was great. It fell off with the incursions. People lost interest with the long phases. I think SoD is still good for casuals, but maybe not as good for like hardcore WoW fanatics, like hardcore vanilla WoW Andes, because they try to please the retail crowd or current WoW crowd and then also vanilla crowd. I think if Blizzard wants to go into what we would say a Classic Plus, they need to pick what they want to do. Do you want to go towards a more classic version of WoW and make that like enhanced in a classic way, or do you want to sort of pivot more towards a retail crowd, right? It's everything you like about Classic Plus more. Not, I don't know. I think for my own taste, I think they went too far with a lot of the runes and a lot of the custom stuff. I think if they focused a little bit more of like the bare bones of Classic, maybe tweaked a few of the specs, like maybe made red a little bit more viable, maybe enhancement a little bit more different, just tweaked slightly some things, and then just did more stuff like Kisan Crips, more stuff like perhaps like what Scarlet Enclave will be. I think that could be great. Fill in the empty zones, yeah, stuff like that. I'll say, I think there is a potential platform to launch an official Classic Plus if they do decide to do that. Do I feel confident that they could provide a great Classic Plus? I think it's possible, but I no matter what they do, if they do decide to do a Classic Plus, I think it'll be a situation where not everybody will be pleased. Because Classic Plus is up to the eyes of the beholder what's the best thing that there is. You know, like, well, like some people want X, some people want Y, some people want this and that, right? I don't know. It's hard. I do want to play Classic Scarlet Enclave, and I do think there is a big potential for Classic Plus. Can they deliver? I think it's possible, but I don't know. SoD. I just wanted to talk about this, chat. It's been on my mind for a while, so I wanted to like have a little bit of a talk about it. And now we're like on the topic, right? I think for me the whole thing was a net positive. With the stuff, I don't know what the plans is after SoD. Are we gonna get like a server continuation? Will there be like SoD era? Will there be like what are we gonna do? I don't know what you guys think about that, or what do you guys think they should do? But it seems like SoD in a way at the moment is in a weird limbo, because we have Scarlet Enclave, that's happening, but what after that, right? Too many WoWs, a bit. There was also this interview that was done a while back where the developers talk about the topic of Classic Plus.
But like I think the community just needs to reflect on what we're doing.
This is Tim
as a team
and Josh
and try to think about why we're doing it. Like, why do we have an experimental like seasonal server like Season of Discovery? Why are we trying out vastly different types of raid designs and difficulties? Why are we creating brand new tier sets and trying to make classes that were vastly underrepresented more represented and enjoyable? You know, I think we may stretch too far in terms of how we push the limits of what is acceptable within you know, classic,
and they very much did that.
Traditional classic design for Season of Discovery, but a lot of that's purposeful. So just you know, without saying anything, I think people can maybe infer a lot of stuff from what we've been trying to do and all the different things that we've put forward to players, and how we consistently ask for feedback and ideas and what people are comfortable with and what people are uncomfortable with. You know, not everything in Season of Discovery is meant to be, you know, a straight up banger. Like we intend for some things for, I mean, we obviously want everything that we put out to be amazing and received well, but it's okay if it's not. And that's a lesson for us to take forward on whatever we work on in the future. So
almost.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really saying what he's not saying it directly, but he's very, very, very much pivoting towards it, right? Like, SoD is a testing ground. It's something where they're like, okay, what do the players want? Like, how much can we do? What is too much? What is too little? What do people respond positively to? What do people not respond positively to, right? And I think that's probably the main takeaway from the whole SoD experience, that it might be a potential testing ground for a potential actual Classic Plus, I guess you could say it, right? And yeah, Blizzard have some bad rep of keeping promises. Yeah, a bit. I mean, you don't want to overpromise stuff, and it's also like a dangerous thing to do, like overpromising stuff, right? I think they're already working on something, but Asan saw that they need a lot of time. P1 was great as it was prepped, but a small team needs more time. My theory is that they did an anniversary edition to buy some time. Mayhaps, I do think they really popped off with Phase 1. It was absolutely great, it was amazing, but as we reached Phase 3 with the incursions, that's where it started losing a lot of interest in players with the thing. SoD being a testing ground sounds like a cop-out to me. Could very potentially be true as well, Mufford. Yeah, but I think it's an interesting topic to talk about nonetheless. And yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about it. I just wanted to like talk a little bit about my thoughts and my ideas with the whole thing, because SoD has been a very big part of the content, I guess, for a while. This was a big blue post. I don't know if I can like go over all of this stuff, right? How I imagine Classic Plus in 2023. This is a very, very big part here, but I can go through the major points of it real fast. XP rates are the same, the grind is slow, and the core elements of the game don't change. All I like to see is unfinished content that was already existing and was scraped idea in the first place, such as dungeons, raids, BGs listed below. There's tons of unreleased content and zones that never got fully implemented into Classic WoW. Yes, I agree with this. I would love to see them get filled in those empty areas that the world would have been. I think this whole thing right here is why Karasan was very well received, because it's a zone that we're familiar with within World of Warcraft, but it's a zone we never really got to envision within the game as an actual fleshed out zone, and they did that really, really well, which proves that they actually can do it quite well, right? But it's also more difficult to do that in a grander scale than just one dungeon. Ashara has a lot of shit, obviously. There's the Ashara crater with the BG that was supposed to be a thing. It turned into Altric Valley a little bit, but Ashara did have that same vibe. Uldum, Tanaris and Uldum, there's that as well. Obviously this was used in Cataclysm, but in a potential Classic Plus, this could also be utilized, right? The gates of Uldum are surrounded by what appears to be some giants, some rock boys, which are, it could be like earth elementals. Very true. Typical dungeon raids have elites sitting outside. There could be like an interest to an Uldum raid. There could be, yeah. Karasan, yeah, this one we kind of have already. Dragon Isles. Now we're getting into like kind of weird territory. But I think with these things up here, if you go into some of the older maps of World of Warcraft, there was some islands that were supposed to be down in South Stranglethorn Vale, which could be utilized. There's also other zones that were supposed to be in the game that got scrapped. There's a lot of stuff like that. The isolated Evan Forest, when I see Flying Elven, the BRD FP direction, maybe there's some stuff there in a flight path. Undermine Isle, exactly, yeah, stuff like that. Majority of classes have near perfect, only you were tweaking. Yeah, that's what I said earlier as well, minimal tweaking with the classes and stuff like that, right? Flight path, the most obvious areas, top of Stranglethorn. I don't really know if we need this per se, but I can see why it would be warranted. Fix the mobs barking out. Well, when I look at this, I mainly think of the freaking mobs in Tanaris, right, with the huts. But yeah, it's a rough draft. I hope it's in Classic Plus this year. I agree. I obviously skimmed through this a little bit because I already yapped about this for a while. I think you're making a lot of good points, and I honestly almost agree with all of them. I think that for the pure classic Andes in their idea of a Classic Plus, this is very much what they see, right? How did the Karasan is a textbook example of what potential it has? I agree. Again, where are we reaching with this whole conversation? I think SoD was fantastic. I think it was great. SoD is not fully over yet. I still would like to do the Scarlet Enclave, and I might potentially do more of it in the future whenever OnlyFans might have calmed down a little bit. But I'd still view it very much as a testing ground. I think they've done a lot of great things about it. They've done some things that are horrible, but Yeah, I'm excited to see where they'll take SoD. It was just like a little discussion about this whole thing, guys. I mean, let me know what you guys think as well. What's the point of new content if your class is non-viable? Making classes fun and viable equals more content. Or is more important than more content. Obviously, both are important, but it's fun to have a new look of Classic. Very much agree with that take, Disco, and I think that's a completely fair point to have. I think for myself, when I meant that the classes needs to be viable, is that I think the classes are viable in Classic WoW, and I think a lot of them are very much good in terms of changing the classes for a potential Classic Plus. How I view that is that maybe changing a little bit of how Red works, maybe give Red a little bit more viability, maybe give Shadow Priests like a little bit more ways to deal with in PvE, maybe Enhancement Shamans can dual wield, right? But I think that if you look at all these things that I have, this is a lot of stuff, right? And for me, I think the runes were fun, but it was a bit too much for my taste. It was a bit too much. I wish that they focused a bit more on stuff like Karasan and like the cool quest chains and the agents and all those things, and a bit less on the custom runes. In Phase 1, it was amazing, but I think it lost its novelty a little bit along the way. Yeah? And also, a lot of it was copied abilities from Kata and Wrath. So that's a little bit sad. But regardless, I still think SoD was an overall big success so far. And I'm excited to see what they'll do in the future. Yeah, there's like a little bit of a talk about SoD, guys. But I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. And this felt like the perfect opportunity. So yeah, there that is. I think we're gonna log in and play some hardcore WoW now.